Hello and welcome back to a new way of being. Thank you very much for joining me. In this episode, I want to talk about non-duality, why I talk about it a lot, why I value it so much, uh, and how it can benefit anybody. I came to non-duality in around 2013 completely by chance as a result of suffering. I didn't feel particularly good about myself. I felt a sense of lack, shame, all these feelings. And I was looking for answers, and various wonderful, serendipitous, coincidental, some might say, things happened that led me on a path that I could never have anticipated, which led me to non duality. And important to say, I'm by no means some enlightened mystic or the finished product. Like, I'm still a bit of a hot mess a lot of the time. As you can see, I've got for those of you watching, cut on my forehead where I bashed my head on a swimming pool. I still get anxious, I still get irritable, etc. However, the non-dual recognition and really internalizing it and making it increasingly my own has definitely enriched my life in so many ways. I feel more peaceful. I feel more content. I have less resistance to any of my dysfunctional patterns. I welcome them in the main. My relationships flow better. I have a sense of awe about life, just the mundanity of life, just the really simple things. And it has just deepened my experience so much, and it can do for you and for anyone. And that's why I'm such a big fan of it. So, what is non duality? So, non duality comes from the Sanskrit word advaita, which means not two. So, the implication of non duality is that although it seems that we are separate from each other and separate from the world and separate from life itself, we've been dumped in this reality alone and adrift. That is an illusion. And that actually, at the deepest level, we are all connected. We are all the same, which is why people say we are all one. Now, it's very true that on one level, the human level, we are all individual and unique and distinct. There's never been someone like me or you, and there never will be, in terms of how we look, our personality, the time, our experiences, everything like that, location. So we are all, every person on the planet and every person that's ever existed has been totally unique on the human side. But there's another side, the being side, so human and being, the being side, that we are not separate. We believe we are separate, but there's actually no evidence for that. And I think, in my experience, the more you question that belief and explore whether it's true in your own experience, you come to see that no, we are all individual expressions of one underlying life, one underlying reality, one underlying consciousness. So on that level, we are all exactly the same, which is why wise people from days gone by say things like, if I hurt my neighbor, I hurt myself. Like, not for any other reason than that's fundamentally, literally true at the deepest level. You hurt someone else, you hurt yourself. Love your neighbor like yourself, not because it's the right thing to do, but because you recognize that at the deepest level, he or she is yourself. And that's a beautiful thing about non-duality, this recognition. And so there's a couple of ways to explore this, because it's not about a belief system, believing something. It's about challenging beliefs and questioning beliefs and assumptions that we've picked up, that we've been conditioned to internalize, and seeing whether they're true. For example, back in the day, hundreds of years ago, we all believed that the sun went around the earth because that's what it looks like, that's how it seems, until we realize that was an illusion. And in fact, the earth goes around the sun. Well, our perceptions continually mislead us. And so when you actually investigate in your experience and question some of the beliefs, for example, that we all have individual consciousnesses as opposed to sharing one consciousness, you really do, in my experience, start to recognize, no, we've completely got it wrong. And we see that in the world through the amount of suffering and conflict. So a good place to start is to start by questioning what you mean when you say I. We all say I all the time. So we should all know what it means. But whenever I ask someone, a friend or people at events or talks that I do, what do they mean when they say I? People get flustered. It's a really difficult question to answer. And people will say things like, well, I'm my thoughts, or I'm my body, or, I'm my experiences, or one I've noticed recently is I'm my values. A lot of people obviously identify with their job, what they do, that defines them. But all of those things are thoughts, are ideas, and they come and go. And our body, for example, is always changing. The body that I have now with these flecks of grey is vastly different to the body I had when I was a boy, and will be vastly different again from the body I'll have a few years down the line. And the same is true for all of us. Our thoughts, our beliefs are always changing. Our values are changing. Our experiences are changing. Our relationships are changing. So everything that we experience changes. And that's where we can often run into trouble, because we all seek happiness and fulfillment and security and contentment in what we experience, in things, whether it be a job or a relationship or through approval and power and those kind of things. But it can never actually give us what we want, because everything is always changing. Eventually our body's going to break down. Eventually we're going to get ill. The success that we have today turns into the failure tomorrow. The party we go to tonight turns into the boring Monday the next day, etc., etc. And so everything that we experience is impermanent, is always changing. And the more we resist that, we suffer. So we're trying to find security in something that is fundamentally insecure, what we experience. And what's true is that the I that we refer to as ourselves as, I am holding this bottle, I am talking to you now, I don't like that. That I has been present throughout the whole of our life. So that means it can't be a thought or a sensation or a perception or a body, because all of those things are changing, but the I has remained the same. So it's about turning round, as it were, and exploring, what is that I? Now, a problem that a lot of people have, most people, the vast majority of people, is that they're really identified with their minds. And so we believe that the voice in our head is who we are, our thoughts define us. But that's not true. We are aware of our thoughts. We are not our thoughts. And we run into further trouble when we identify with our mind, because our mind lives in time, creates time. The fact of the matter is, it's always now. It's now, and it's still now. And it's always been now. It's always now. So now isn't a place in time. Time exists in our mind. We remember the past through thinking, and we imagine the future through our imagination, again, through thought. And when we imagine a positive future, we feel happy and hopeful. And when we imagine a scary future, we suffer. So our mind is continually dragging us into time, into the past and the future, but we never actually experience time. And because we feel separate, we don't feel whole, we don't feel fulfilled, because we feel separate from everyone else, and our minds compare and contrast us with everyone else. We are seeking to become whole. And because we're seeking to become whole, by seeking to become that means we have to seek in the future. We're not whole now, but we hope that we will become whole and enough in the future. But the problem is the future never arrives. The future is just an idea in our head. And so we continually are chasing becoming in the future, overlooking the fact that the future doesn't exist. And we want to distract ourselves and overlook and ignore the present moment because a future moment's more important. And that is a massive cause of suffering. Continually looking to the future to become enough for salvation. But the future doesn't exist. The only moment that exists is now. So that's why what it is that is experiencing everything, our thoughts, our feelings, our sensations and perceptions, people talk about it as consciousness, as awareness, being, or presence. So people talk about the need to be present. But the fact of the matter is, we're always present. We can't not be present because actually, except when our mind takes us into the future or into the past, or seemingly takes us into the future and past, it never actually does that. We're always present. Not only are we always present, we are presence. We are what is aware of our thoughts, what is aware of and conscious of what we can see and hear and feel and all our experiences, all these things that come and go. We are the presence, the aware presence that is experiencing everything that comes and goes. And this aware presence is totally at ease with whatever happens, whether it's a quote unquote good experience or quote unquote bad experience. And life is a roller coaster of ups and downs. But whilst the mind goes, I don't like this, I don't want this, I want something else, the part of us that's just this aware presence is totally at ease with whatever is taking place. So right now, whatever it is that can hear my voice, or whatever it is that can see the screen or feel the sensations of your feet on the floor, that is aware of any element of your experience, that is totally at ease with whatever is taking place. The mind may not be, your feelings may not be, your thoughts may not be, but the aware presence in which all of this is taking place is totally at ease. So just to use one example of hearing my voice, if I said to you, right, stop hearing, you wouldn't be able to do it. You might be able to put your hands over your ears, but you can't stop yourself from hearing. You can't stop yourself from feeling. This aware presence is always present. It's the one ever present element of experience, but we overlook it because it's not a thing like a bottle or a pen or a feeling or a thought. Whatever it is that is experiencing is not a thing. It doesn't have a start and an end. It's ever present. We can't actually find any limits to it. It's not like it's located. It feels like it's located in the head, but when we actually explore that, it's not located in the head. So there is this background aware presence that is totally at peace, totally at ease, totally unruffled, doesn't age, unlimited, and whole, completely whole. And the more that we can get in touch with that, the more of a bloody relief it is. Because then some of the patterns that we experience, so if I talk about my own experience of feeling insecure, of feeling anxious, of feeling shame's been a really big one for me, that sense of I'm bad, I'm a bit broken, I'm unlovable, those kind of things, you realize they're just stories of the mind that I used to resist them so much. Like if I hated it if someone said, oh, you're insecure. No, I'm not. The reason it riled me up was because it pointed out a truth that I believed. Now, I still experience feelings of shame. They can come up, or feelings of unworthiness. I can be a people pleaser. I want approval, that kind of thing. But now, rather than feeling like, oh, I shouldn't feel this, I don't want to feel this, I realize that these are just conditioned beliefs and responses that are not fundamentally true, because who I am is prior to the mind, is behind the mind. And that's such a relief, because then when these patterns show up, instead of feeling like, I'm broken, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to feel shame, I don't want to feel bad about myself, it's an opportunity to allow that feeling or that pattern to arise, to not resist it, to not identify with it, and to allow it to unwind all on its own. And so recognizing and really realizing that I'm not the mind that keeps me trapped in time, imagining disastrous futures on occasion and regretting things in the past. I am present here now. I am presence fundamentally on the being level. Obviously, I'm still the human level. I'm not denying that. And I'll do another episode about that. But it's such a relief, because behind the mind, I know that all is well. So whatever happens to be going on, and however caught up in the stories and the feelings I happen to be, I know that behind it all, I'm aware that behind it all is well. And that is a bloody relief. And it's true for me, and it's true for you, and it's true for everyone. And that's why I think non-duality is so valuable, because it can ease, in my view, suffering individually, internally, but also conflicts, because we realize at that deepest level, we are all the same.